First, I will talk about 5 things I noticed centenarians and other very old people who are still in good shape have in common. And after that, I will include some quotes by very old people that I liked most. I'm working as a caregiver for the elderly this spring, but I only care for one elderly lady. I did learn some things from her, but most of these things are from the interviews with old people that I like watching. Most of them were centenarians, which means people who have lived to be 100 years or more. They're always asked about their secrets, and some do say that it's just genetics or luck, which definitely play a role. But I've also noticed that there are a few things that they all do and that we can learn from and use them to improve our own lives. When it comes to what they eat, there's everything. There are both vegans and meat eaters among them. I mean, that's one of those highly polarizing topics where people get religious about it instead of looking for what both sides have in common that works. There seems to be many very old fit vegans, though I noticed, and that's my observation, that being a vegan without having any deficiencies is easier for men than women. And nobody talks about it, but there is some evidence that women may be more prone to some nutrient deficiencies on vegan diets more than men because of some biological, hormonal, and reproductive differences. Also, vegan diets lower estrogen and progesterone levels slightly. A 2020 study on vegans in the UK found that vegan women had lower iron, B12, calcium, and iodine than omnivores, despite taking supplements. So it's slightly easier for men to stay healthy on a vegan diet, especially because of lower iron needs and less hormonal fluctuation, and also higher tolerance for slightly suboptimal nutrient levels. One thing all these old people had in common is that they are not obese, so they don't overindulge in highly processed foods or sweets, for sure. The oldest woman that's ever lived, she was 122 when she died. She had a cake every day and a glass of wine, and she laughed a lot. But she didn't have like 5 cakes and a liter of wine. Some studies do show that vegans have a slightly lower risk of all-cause mortality compared to omnivores, but those differences are modest. Centenarians around the world tend to follow diets that are rich in plant-based foods and low in processed and red meats and moderate in calories. And moderation in general is important when it comes to longevity. I'm very bad at moderation. I once ate a whole jar of Nutella and quite a few whole jars of peanut butter. Moderation is not easy for everyone. Also, when it comes to gender, majority of centenarians are women. We generally have longer telomeres and lower epigenetic aging markers, so we have this biological advantage in longevity. Telomeres are protective caps at the ends of chromosomes that shorten with each cell division. And when they become too short, cells cannot divide anymore and they become senescent or die. And this shortening process is associated with aging and aging-related diseases. Estrogen has a protective role. It upregulates this activity of the enzyme telomerase, which helps rebuild and maintain telomeres, and that's probably the reason women live longer. And we have higher estrogen levels for most of our lives, and so we tend to preserve telomere length better than men. Men's telomeres shorten faster, and they tend to have higher oxidative stress and lower telomerase activity, which leads to faster telomere shortening and contributes to their lower average life expectancy. So male centenarians are fewer in number, but they tend to have better physical and cognitive health compared to female centenarians. I blame estrogen deficiency for this because estrogen protects women's brains, heart, and bones. And after menopause, women's cardiovascular risk increases a lot, and by the age of 70, it catches up to men's or even surpasses it. Men also need estrogen, but they produce it from testosterone. They never stop producing testosterone. So men of the same age tend to have higher estrogen levels than postmenopausal women. And there are many studies where healthy men in their 60s and 70s have estradiol levels some 20 to 30 picograms per milliliter, while menopausal women without hormone replacement therapy, they have like less than 10 picograms per milliliters, and sometimes even less, like undetectable levels. So women live longer on average, but we live more years in poor health post-menopause, while men have fewer years, but more years in good health, especially male centenarians. So what I learned from my client, even though she's not in the great shape, she had a few strokes and incontinence. I mean, illness can happen even if you do everything right. Though she has been eating a lot of all kinds of sausages, as they do here in Germany. Vaginal estrogen could have probably prevented incontinence, and I mean, at least it's worth trying since it's risk-free. But from her, I've learned that life is better for you and those around you if you don't complain. So that's not what she said, but I've noticed in the last 2 months since I've lived with her, she didn't complain once about anything, and she could find many things to complain about. So it's easy to live with her, and her daughters adore her. And also, she was very lucky or smart or both that she married a man that she really liked a lot. Everybody says she was always in good mood, and was a very good person. I mean, they both are. So there's also positivity. She didn't say anything negative about anything. She just praises her family, her daughters, her late husband, even her sons-in-law and me. Just has nice words for everyone and for everything. And she didn't like Trump. She said that he's not sympathisch, he's not charming or nice. Also, she's very grateful. She says thank you many times a day. And she's very chilled. She doesn't get very enthusiastic, maybe because she recently lost her husband. But yeah, she's a very chilled person. The first thing I noticed that all these old people in good shape have in common is that they married someone whose personality they liked a lot. So from all the interviews I've seen, almost all of them have been married for many years to some awesome person, as they describe them, and someone they really liked. And I think there's nothing that will shorten your life more effectively and make you sick faster than having a toxic partner. So most centenarians describe their life partners with words like, he was always in the good mood, he was smart, he was funny, he or she. They are mostly women. So if you really like your partner, then it's more likely that you will also like your children's personalities. So being very picky, finding the right partner that you really like and have fun with, that causes you no stress, that you don't have to walk on eggshells around, that might be the most important thing, in my impression. Marrying your best friend, or just staying single, which is much better than being with a partner that stresses you out. You're more lonely in a relationship with a person who's not right for you than if you're alone. So that goes for women, at least. Because according to studies, married men, especially those with children, they are the happiest group. They are happier than unmarried men. But contrary to the traditional assumptions and both of my grandma's claims, unmarried and childless women, they report high level of happiness. And some behavioral scientists suggest that that group is the happiest. And then we tend to live longer than married women. Number 2, they don't let things bother them much. They don't get aggravated. They don't get very stressed by life problems. I heard that Rockefeller had ice in his veins, that he didn't get upset, and he lived to be 96. So you don't have to have a boring, uneventful life. It's possible to have a life that is not inherently stress-free, like as an entrepreneur, and still stay unaggravated, chilled, and unstressed. I don't think I will live that long. I do get aggravated, and I don't have moderation, and I have sugar addiction that it's under control. I think things can be improved. I'm still working on all these, but I'm not like postponing the things I want to do most. They're all physically active, and they have always been physically active. Many of the women were professional dancers, so dancers tend to be very old, fit people. A lot of moving, doing what you love, like dancing preferably. They're outdoorsy people, many of them. Again, that's moving and not necessarily exercise. That some of them do still exercise, lifting weights. They're not isolated. They socialize. They have a support system, either family or friends or both. Most of the people are also sad about their partner not being there anymore and missing them a lot, but they still live full life. They're still active. They don't sit at home and cry. They go out, they're social, definitely not alone and isolated. They're curious people with enthusiasm for life. They enjoy life. They're curious, and they learn, and then they tend to live as if they were young. They're actually young people living in old bodies. They often use computers. They hang out with friends who are often much younger than them. They live as if they were still young. Also, they don't seem to complain much. They're optimistic. They have positive attitude. They focus on the positive, and they laugh a lot. Chronic negative thoughts and stress can contribute to the shortening of telomeres. And this connection is well documented in scientific research. For example, 2004 study found that women under chronic caregiving stress had significantly shorter telomeres than those not under stress. And that women who ruminate, that is, obsess over negative thoughts, they also had shorter telomeres. I don't really experience much stress in this caregiving gig, probably because my client is so cool, but still, there is a lack of work-life balance. It's a very unhealthy one. So I'm not going to do this work anymore. As for rumination is when your mind loops endlessly on past events and mistakes and painful memories. And often focusing on self-blame or helplessness. While worry is thinking about future, so it's imagining disaster with failures that haven't happened yet. So both are forms of mental rehearsal that your brain thinks are helpful, but they actually increase stress and anxiety and depression, and they shorten telomeres. And one way to fix it is to practice just recognizing those thoughts and saying something like, no, thank you. I choose to protect my telomeres, or just maybe just dancing, because you can't ruminate and worry and dance at the same time, or physically moving to remove those thoughts.